Is it appropriate for protesters to show up at the homes of public officials, as in what happened last
I have been entirely consistent when I was in provincial politics, when I was a talk show host, and now as the Mayor of Toronto. I think it is entirely inappropriate. I think it is way over the top for people to, look, we are public figures. I try, speaking only for myself, to make myself available to you, to make myself available to groups who have things to protest or things to commend us on, as much as I possibly can. And in the case of the group in particular that you're asking about, I would note for the record, I have offered them, I think, 3 or 4 times. I think you're familiar with the dates because you've been included in some of the emails, not by us, but I think by them. And I've offered to meet them, but I have said the meeting should be private, because I believe that the kind of constructive meeting where you're really going to discuss the kinds of problems that I've been open and honest with a small aspect of it, a small but important aspect. You asked me about it today, but there's much more to be discussed. And I've said, made, I think, 4 or 5 offers of meetings. But I think the notion that we, in public life, and that includes the Premier, and it includes me, and it includes the police chief, because I remember one time I talked about this in the context of Mr. Fantino back in earlier days. I just think there's a degree of privacy and respect that we're entitled to, notwithstanding that we're in public life, and it goes way beyond what I think is reasonable to have people set up protests on other people's lawns. I don't think any of those people would like it if we did that to them. And I just think it's just way over the top, and I just think they hurt their own credibility when they do things like that.
And look, the circus that I don't approve of it, and frankly, I don't approve of it any time. If the reporters want to sit in front of the mayor's office and have a sit in there and they stay there and eat and drink and sleep there waiting for him to come, no problem. But his house, his driveway, his cottage, the bushes and all that stuff, stalking his mother, following Rob Ford into gas stations, I don't approve. And by the way, if our own radio station is doing that, then with great respect to those who instructed them to do so, I don't approve of that either.
A couple more and then I have to go upstairs.
Back to the Black Lives Matter movement. I think you said something like, if there's a problem, this is something that, various parties are going to be looking at. Do you think there is a problem? Do you believe your concerns are valid?
Well, they've set out a number of concerns over time, but I think, not to repeat what I said before, but if you ask me, if there have been incidents that have taken place that have led to a diminished level of trust between the police and elements of the community, including parts of the African Canadian black community, the answer to that is yes. That has happened, and it's happened going back to carding, which was largely something that was happening in great sort of volume back in 2011, 2012. Hasn't happened now for a year in terms of carding itself, and other things that have happened, including encounters with emotionally disturbed people and so on. And so I'm standing here honest and open enough to say that we have to sit down and discuss these things, and I have had meetings in this regard as recently as the last few days on this subject, and I'm willing and have expressed that willingness repeatedly in writing to that particular organization to say I would sit with them too. I've just said it has to be in private, at least at the initial go-around, because I think that'll lead to a much more constructive kind of discussion. But there is something that we need to address in this community that has to do with incidents and things that have led to a diminished trust in police. And I'm not assessing blame. I'm not calling anybody any names in doing that. I'm just saying that is a fact. And when that's a fact, the leader of the community and the head of the police service and the head of the police board and all the members of council, I think, have some obligation to take note of that and to try and do what they can to address it.